had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire an energy vampire. But also, they're a literal vampire. And suddenly my team is spending all their time sharpening wooden stakes and buying bulk silver and rehearsing ancient chants, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant takes insights from over 1 billion professionals to create a short list of the best fits for you. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
This episode is brought to you by Stouffer's. Here comes 3-time juggling champion Natalia Rogers. She's juggling law school, her TA job. Oh, narrowly catches the laundry. What's that fourth ball? Parents unexpectedly showed up at dinner time? Is that too much for Natalia? Not with Stouffer's Chicken Alfredo and its mouth-watering mix of Asiago, Romano, and Parmesan. When you're juggling 4 things at once and the clock strikes dinner, think Stouffer's.
Thanks for listening to No Question About That. You can support this show by visiting patreon.com/NQATpod or in your Apple podcast feed. We do a backer show each week going deep dive into a topic related to United. Or if you don't want to part with your cash, an even better way is to leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And now on with the show. Welcome to No Question About That. This is the weekend pod with me, Ed, and him, Adam. Adam, how's it going?
It's going well. I had a little nap after the game, being with the time difference, and I was a bit grumpy from the first half, to be honest, and I think that really influenced how I saw the second half, but having a chance to think about it, I'm looking forward to having a chat about it now, but I'm feeling good. I missed being on. It's been a little while.
Been a little while, yeah. All right, well, the agenda for today, we're going to talk about Crystal Palace 1, United 2, very much a game 2 halves, that one, as you sort of hinted at there, and talk a little bit about Carl Macaulay, new head of scouting, reporting to Christopher Bebel, and what that might mean for United's winter and summer recruitment strategy. And then we'll look ahead to West Ham and United on Thursday night. Why can't we play football at normal times, Adam?
Money, money, money.
Midday on Saturday against Palace, and then a Thursday night game, and then I think we've got a Monday night game after that.
Is it beneficial? Like, I know the Monday night games are shit, especially like if you're like, for me, it just means a Tuesday morning. But like if you're a traveling fan, you're getting fucked with that, and it just it's one, it's the price not making Europe, so they can just flick us around into the ideal TV slots. But it's definitely that, right? It's the price of the TV deal.
Yeah, well, there's more games because of the TV deal. In fact, the Premier League TV deal has really only gone up about 15% since 2017, and there's double the number of games being shown. So more slots to fill. United not in Europe. I think it's inevitable as a result of that would get shifted around a little bit. But it does fuck traveling fans just so much, and especially when it's like really inconvenient places like Bournemouth on a Monday night or something like that. Just at least have the local games.
Early kickoff in London, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's been this way forever. Unfortunately, TV rights deals don't really take account of fans because it's just so much money.
I mean, same as the tickets, right? It's same as the ticket situation we're seeing at clubs. It's all representative of the money men.
It is, and unfortunately, because it's an arms race between all clubs. If one club puts their price up, everyone else kind of has to. Otherwise, they're at a disadvantage. And the London clubs have a structural advantage there. They can naturally charge slightly higher prices, so they pull in more overall revenue. It doesn't. You don't get a London upweighting on a footballer's salary. Well, I would accept 12 million, except it's London, so it's expensive, so I need a 10% increase. It doesn't work like that.
Sir Jim referenced Fulham, didn't he? He used the Fulham example, which is almost not the outlier, but it's the extreme one.
It's the extreme because they get a lot of tourists, and it's a nice spot for tourists to go to, and all of that. And United get a lot of tourists, and they are honestly leaving money on the table, right? Because the tourists coming in from Norway or the States or wherever, once they've added their flight and their food and accommodation, the ticket price doesn't really, whether it's 30 quid or 50 quid, what difference does it make? So there's a lot more elasticity of demand there. And they're willing to push up the prices, and all clubs are looking at that and what they ideally want to do if you didn't care about fans at all and, pick your level of cynicism here, is have fully dynamic pricing because it would ensure the stadiums are completely full and then maximize their revenue. But, if you want to spend £5,000 to go to United versus Liverpool, that's what will happen.
Good luck with doing dynamic pricing when United might be in the Conference League next year, but let's just see what happens.
In those cases, it might work quite well, actually, because you don't get a bunch of 10, 15 quid if it was fully dynamic and no floor. All right.
Wow.
Palace 1, United 2. This was a very good result for United, and in the end, a very good performance in that second half. I mean, within limits. I think we should talk about what some of those limits are, but maybe we go right back to the beginning. What did you make of the lineup and the overall approach from Ruben Amorim?
I mean, both teams missed early chances. It started off like a bit of a basketball game. It was end-to-end. Mateta missed a chance. I mean, before that, Casemiro and Mbeumo missed chances, and that was the majority of United's XG in the first half. They created nothing in open play.
Yep.
It was really dreadful. It was a complete continuation of that lack of intensity from Everton. I was really frustrated, really frustrated. I mean, it was what I dreaded. We had 60% possession. We weren't able to do anything with it. The second half was so different because once United scored, Palace were on the ball more. I mean, United only had 51% possession in the second half. Palace had no shots on target. The biggest takeaway for me was how tight United were defensively more than anything else. I mean, the end is always going to be a little bit nervy. The team hasn't shed all of that mental fragility that you and I have spoken about previously. I found it funny people were talking about the ball wasn't bouncing United's way and whatnot in the first half. For me, it wasn't even that. They just weren't playing well. Like the duels were quite even. I think it was 27-23. It was 34-30 in the second half. So it was much the same in that aspect. But the difference for me is how they stifled Palace defensively. And Palace were 12 games undefeated at Selhurst. United 1 win in 11 road games. So to get a win in the most unlikeliest of circumstances was a nice surprise. But it's a bit of balance, like you said, right? Like, so it wasn't perfect. I thought that even though Bruno's assists were really quite funny in a way, he didn't do a lot of the work. A lot of the work was done by Joshua Zirkzee and Mason Mount. But it balanced out his creative efforts. He did create 4 chances. The best ones in the first half were via him.
Yeah.
But the concern for me within that is probably, I'd like to talk about the players a bit, but what did you make of the game?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we go right from the beginning. The lineup, I was glad to see Ahmad at right wing back. I mean, obviously he does his best work in the final third, but it just adds another attacker into the side. That was balanced out by Josh Zirkzee starting up front again, and we can talk about the change in the second half, which put him in much better positions, right? And I don't know who you would be to watch that Everton game and go, oh yeah, Josh Zirkzee's definitely a number 9. And he's the kind of number 9 that will work in an Amorim system. I just don't know what kind of aneurysm or stroke you must have had to think that would work, right? I mean, we've got lots and lots of evidence. There's a reason Josh Zirkzee hadn't scored for a year in the Premier League, near enough a year. 24 games it was. He's not really a striker. He's a shadow striker. And he did some great work in the second half. Props to him and Ruben Amorim for changing it around in the sort of areas where he was doing his work. But having him as a number 9 and banging long balls at him, what do you think is going to happen? It's just absolute madness. And that is the most frustrating thing about Ruben Amorim, is that you contrast United's second half performance, where there was lots of interesting kind of rotational stuff, especially Zirkzee dropping into the left channel and Mason Mount rotating with Brian Mbeumo going up front, which I know we've talked about before. He sees that, and he's talked in the pre-match press conference about needing an Ahmad on the other side. So he knows he needs more attacking support, otherwise United aren't going to score goals, right? He knows all of this, and yet he turned out basically the same set of players, with minor changes and the same approach and strategy, and he was surprised it wasn't working. Like, madness, absolute madness. And that's the most frustrating thing, because I think he's a smart coach. He's obviously well regarded through football. He's obsessive kind of positional person, as most top coaches are these days, right? obsessive about the conceding chances on the counter and where plays should be in really specific, down to like the meter where they should be. They've been playing full matches in training this season to get it right. He's had loads of training time, so it's not an excuse anymore. And then he churns out the same stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck have you been smoking? But that was the bad stuff. And you're right, United created almost nothing in the first half. They only created 0.2 XG from open play in the second half as well, by the way. So they still have a problem creating.
Yeah, I noticed that after the second goal. I was like, yep, still not much happening.
But they got in better positions in that second half. And I think that's the thing that mattered. And if you think about like where both goals came from, they are both set pieces, but they come from Zirkzee dropping into the left channel, allowing Dalot to cut inside, gets the free kick, and so on. And so they might have been set-piece goals, but they were from the changes that he had made in order to get United into better positions.
Yeah, it was really frustrating watching the first half, knowing that those changes needed to be made. And probably one of my frustrations with Ruben Amorim is how long sometimes he waits. I think the biggest criticism I had of the Everton game was that once the red card happened, why aren't you making changes straight away to take advantage of that? You spoke about this, you've got three centre backs, against 10 men, you're instantly losing that advantage. So why aren't you making changes to make the most of that advantage? It felt like they never did. But the second half changes, you have to give credit. I'm still not entirely convinced. I see the balance in it took moments of brilliance to take the lead. But United have proved to be a really good set-piece team this season. It's a really magnificent turnaround. A lot of credit to Carlos Fernandes for the work he's done, or Ruben Amorim, whatever it is. United was so bad at corners last season, both in attack and defence. And now you actually genuinely feel when it comes to set pieces that anything can happen. It's a very long time since it felt like that. I thought Casemiro's turnaround in the second half, after he really struggled in the end-to-end sort of vibe of the first half. Adam Wharton is not the most mobile player, but he was running rings around Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes in the first half. It was just the pivot was just not working. All the flaws were being exposed. Bruno Fernandes was so deep. The concern I had with him overall through the 90 minutes were laid bare. No touches in Palace's box, only one shot on goal. That's just still not what you want from a player like that. You're sort of magnifying his weaknesses in marking and asking him to be so sometimes he was as deep as the centre-backs were. He doesn't need to do that. That's also a flaw of Bruno. Like, he doesn't need to drop into where De Ligt is. De Ligt can make that pass himself, and he's shown that. Joshua Zirkzee's goal changed it all for him. I thought he just seemed to get a little bit more confidence. And also, I spoke about this during the game. He's only played 20-odd minutes since the end of August. Yeah. So it is going to take a little bit of while to shed off that rust, but it is amazing what a goal can do. And it was a stunning goal. I thought Mason Mount was just awesome. He is so important, especially when you don't have Matthias Cunha. And I think, we talk about the lack of production from Cunha so far, but what he does for his teammates is something that Mason Mount also does. You've got to have one of them in that front three for it to work, in my opinion. And it wasn't a great day for Brian Mbeumo. And for United still to win when they've relied on him heavily was pretty important. I'm highly critical of Diogo Dalot at this point, but he was good. Is good the right word on the left? I thought he did a good job. He did his job, and I guess that's why he gets picked. I really thought that Nasser Mazraoui made a huge difference when coming on. I thought he was awesome. Really felt for Lenny Yoro, who is going through a rough patch at the moment. That's just going to happen. He just needs some time. We'll talk about this with West Ham. I think probably resting him at the moment and just giving him a break might be a good idea. But I also thought, Sonny Lemons didn't have a lot to do after the penalties. He really didn't.
Very, very little.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
It's the final chapter of the college football playoff.
It comes down to this.
Miami's unmatched grit and tenacity through the postseason has led them home. The national title now within reach.
They are confident. They are battle-tested.
Undefeated Indiana, led by Chris Signetti and Heisman winner Fernando Mendoza, have the chance to take home their first title and claim college football immortality.
The most remarkable turnaround in the history of college football.
The College Football Playoff National Championship presented by AT&T. Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app.
New year, same extra value meals at McDonald's. So now get 2 snack wraps, plus fries, and a medium soft drink for just $8.
For limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Hawaii, Alaska, and California, and for delivery.
If you compare the two, I thought Sonny Lemons was the better of the two keepers. It's marginal because neither faced a lot of pressure, but I actually thought Dean Hedges' distribution was quite bad. And Lemons just did his job when the ball was at his feet. His distribution, his long passing was fine. And yeah, it's so weird because it's one result and then it does help make up for the Everton result, but it's all part. I'm still seeing the bigger picture. I've still got questions. So I'm trying to enjoy the result. It's one of the few wins I can remember where I still had real reservations. How did you sort of feel, or how are you feeling about it all?
I mean, much as I've done for a long time with United, I'm not going to get too high and not going to get too low about this because this is far from a perfect side. And we've got a coach who's kind of proven himself to be far from perfect too. If that's not too mean, I mean, just the mere fact that he put out that side to start with Zirkzee at number 9 and they were hoofing it long. And it was so different in the second half. It was clearly instructional. So that's the good and the bad. Yin and the yang of Ruben Amorim. He's so obsessive about his system, and the contrast with Glasner in the Palace Manager is apt here, right? Because Glasner's like, he's not a 3-4-3 kind of hyper obsessive. He's playing that because he thinks it suits the players he's got in the squad, whereas Amorim is, and it doesn't suit the players he's got in the squad. And he talked in the pre-match press conference about needing the profile of player for each position, right? And that is his flaw. He is unable to construct a side that does not have the perfect player for each position. We know this now. He can't do it, right? So if United are going to stick with him, we have to accept the fact that we're going to be crap until we can buy players for all the right positions. And in that sense, we can look back in hindsight at the summer and say we didn't do enough business, right? Because it was obvious that the wing-back positions were undermanned with the right kind of profile of player, and the same with central midfield. Should have done more business, should have thrown the boat out. We know we've got quite a lot of PSR headroom, or Score Cothrell has headroom from next season, plenty of it. Millions, tens of millions. And so we could have thrown the boat out, we'd have been borrowing money to do it, but in retrospect, that would have been a better strategic decision to do it. Same applies in January. Fill in the holes if you want to chase Europe, might as well. But that's kind of, it's a long, winding way of saying, I'm not going to get too high about one win because there are a lot of flaws with this side. Partly it's players and personnel. Some of it's mental fragility. Some of it is Ruben Amorim and the way he approaches these games and his tendency towards conservative choices. And some of it's like flogging a dead horse over and over again with stuff he knows doesn't work, or he must know doesn't work. And if he doesn't know it doesn't work, then he shouldn't be at the club. But I know he does, and he's hoping it will change. And I kind of felt a sense of frustration about that for quite a long time now. But some of the things that help make it work, Mason Mount, for all his flaws, and he has many, physical and production, like not enough goals and assists really for a player of his caliber, does help make this system work. For sure. Things that don't help make the system work, 2 fullbacks at wing, just never works. Never. Apart from Liverpool, which was a very special kind of tactical system where we played 40% of our balls long, it's just never worked.
It's a death knell. It's a death knell for the attack. It completely I just said this repeatedly. It castrates the attack having 2 fullbacks. You need more. It's like how he says, like you just said before, talked about needing Ahmad on that right side, and that's because you're asking way too much of the front 3 if you have 2 fullbacks. in that system. It doesn't work. And I thought about, and you've said this, and I was listening to Scott say this on the Promised Land, but they've got to, you wonder how they prioritize January and what positions they do, and then what business they should have done in the summer and how they should have prioritized differently. If you went that way around again, would you have not signed Cunha and then allocated that to a midfielder? Would you have potentially signed a less expensive forward? Like, how would you have prioritized that differently? Or would you have just signed the same players and pushed the boat out a bit more and got another left back? I don't know. It's a really weird thing. For me, it's just like, does it change when Harry Amass comes back? You have another option. Just the fact that the squad balance is completely fucked at the minute because they had 5 defenders on the bench, 2 left-sided centre-backs and 2 left-backs, which was driving me nuts before kickoff because I could not understand why Terrell Malacia or someone else, but he seemed the obvious candidate, was picked is instead of, Jack Fletcher. Like it didn't make sense not to have another option. It makes the academy position, like Shea Lacey or whoever, it makes those selections on the bench feel tokenistic.
I think it is.
Yeah, they're either ready or they aren't. And I would really like him to be asked those questions directly. I would like to hear an answer on that, because if they're in first team training, then you think that they're, at least you're considering them, and then you're picking them on the bench. So they're either sitting there because you've been told to pick them, or it's really frustrating to me, because my biggest gripe at the moment, I'm not an Amarim out or anything like that, but my biggest gripe at the moment is what is happening doesn't feel like, 1, it doesn't feel sustainable, but 2, it doesn't feel like the team that we should be, or the club that we should be trying to build.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as that record is concerned, when you picked Jack Fletcher the other week and said, I've only picked him because we can't let the record go, the record's kind of meaningless at that point. I'd much rather think about, what does he think about the academy as a kind of strategic asset here? Like, is he prepared to build into his pathway like chances for younger players or not? I mean, United are right down the bottom of the Premier League in terms of number of minutes given to academy players. I mean, what did Mainu get yesterday? 5. Again, I feel like he's gaslighting us when he talked about Mainu in the press conference, when he was saying, I feel like he's a first team pick. It's just I've made different choices. No, like, come on, just be honest. Is not the profile of player that you want for those midfield positions. He wants rapid ball progression and he wants ground coverage. Neither of those are particularly Mainu's strengths. I'm not saying he's absolutely rubbish. I mean, of course, there's a social media discussion here, which is always totally binary at complete poles. There's some things he's very good at. There's some things he could do better in. He ranks very lowly for progressive passing. I think he could be braver there, but we're not going to see any of it because we barely ever see any of him. And the only other academy player that's got any minutes this season is Tyler Fredrickson, who got half against Grimsby, and then there was substituted. So I think the record's meaningless, but do we see Carrington as a pathway to get players into the first team, fill out the squad, or make us money by selling them on? At the moment, you wouldn't say so, right? There's none of these younger players you could sell for any kind of money because they don't have first team exposure. And you're not at Manchester City where there's a kind of stamp of, they've come out of the City Academy, therefore it must be a £15 million player, and we're just not there. So it's not serving any purpose. Costs United £25 million a year. And as far as I can tell, it's not important to Amarim at all, unless it's producing the profile of player that he wants. And by the way, none of the age group teams play a 3-4-3 anyway. So make of that what you will.
I just don't really understand it now. I understood why they didn't switch the systems last season, because it was a mid-season appointment. I was wondering if they would do it this summer. Now I'm just sort of wondering, is it because do they see the academy as a profit churner or a future profit churner? So they're not preparing them for first team action. They're preparing them for first team football, wherever that might be. And that's really worrying, because my hope going into this season was that if we were moving on more players than we could bring in, that those squad spots would be supplemented by academy players who would actually play. And you have to give them exposure at some stage. Like, that's part of the bravery. Like, whether it's bravery in chasing games and attacking games, or giving those players a chance. Like, I would have liked to see Shea Lacey today. Why not? Like, when Palace were chasing the game, there was going to be more room in attack. So, like, it just frustrates me. And then, as well as that, if Kobe Minu can't get in when Bruno Fernandes was performing as poorly as he was in the first half, he's never going to play. So, and like you said, he doesn't have that profile that's wanted. His strengths are not ball progression by foot. He carries the ball, and that's not what Ruben Amorim wants. And his ground coverage, Casemiro, despite his age, does the different things. And Manuel Ugarte has played ahead of Kobe Minu time and again. So he can, again, like you said, and it's not too far to say that we are being gaslit when those questions are answered, because we can only really deal, like, you can say what you want in a press conference. We can only deal in what we're getting and what we're seeing, and what we're seeing doesn't marry up with his words.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Well, we haven't really discussed the various goals yet in the Palace game. Sort of mentioned Josh Zirkzee's goal. Amazing finish, really. I mean, the ball from Bruno's excellent. I was not expecting that. You know, I think in that kind of position, you expect him to play it back across goal and look for the runners. It's a great strike. It's very close to Henderson. I mean, I think he's got to feel like, because if you think about how much of the goal must have been possible to hit from that kind of angle, it must be 6 inches, right? And it's just below his elbow. Maybe Zirkzee hit it quick enough that he was wrong-footed. Henderson in his stupid cap. By the way, goalkeepers shouldn't wear caps. I'm not having it.
I think it was a massive factor, though, wasn't it? Like, it really affected United in the first half. It was incredibly difficult to watch on the broadcast, not to mention the camera angle is always crap at Selhurst.
Yeah.
But you could see it affected Palace in the second half too. Like, it undoubtedly had an effect on the game. But yes, no, goalkeepers should never wear caps. I don't like them wearing short sleeves either. Just for the record, I just don't think it's like, I always think goalkeepers should be in long sleeves, but just personal preference. But I thought that Henderson had anticipated a cutback. I thought thought Zirkzee was going to wheel around and play it across the 6-yard box. Never happened. And I also don't think you anticipate that Joshua Zirkzee is a ball striker like that. Like, he absolutely walloped it. Yeah. And it was brilliant. I mean, what did you think of the double tap penalty? I forgot that rule was even a thing.
I'd forgotten that rule had changed because we saw it last season, right?
Yeah. It was Alvarez, right? Yeah.
Normally, you only get a rule change when United have benefited from the previous rule, and there's a big media campaign to get it changed. So it's, I guess, a nice surprise that wasn't something weird caused. I actually find it a bit weird, right? Because if you do a foul throw, you don't get a second go at it. So really, there should be a consistency. Why do you get a second go at it? It's a clear violation, right? I don't know. It's if you Anyway. I don't really think you should get a second go at it, but it is the rule, and it was well spotted by the VAR and absolutely the correct decision to make him retake it. Very good retake, I guess. Completely fooled Senel Almonds. Let's hope he's not a Dave / Anana and can't save penalties.
Well, he was a good penalty saver, so
he did have a good record. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not too worried about it. I just think there was a bit of mind games with it. I think it's always tough for the keeper on the retake rather than the taker, especially if they've scored the first one. Mm-hmm. It just felt like there was a bit of mind games. I did like how, looking back on, Mateta did the same celebration again. That was very social media-ish. But Fortunately, it didn't work out for him and didn't get to post a double celebration afterwards. He might have. I didn't look.
Mateta's an interesting player because there's so much to like about him. He's sort of direct running. He's very physical.
Old school.
Plenty of pace, very old school. I think it's his finishing that's kind of letting him down. If he was just a 10% better finisher, he'd be at a top club already.
Yeah, he's not a volume scorer. And I think, it's the same when you remember when Zirkzee arrived and everyone just sort of looked at his goal total. I think it's that sort of same thing. A lot of fans didn't like the idea of Mateta in the summer. I actually really like him because I think he makes everyone else around him better. You just don't want him to be the sort of the focal point reliance for goals in your attack.
I would not want to drop 60 or 70 million on him for the output that you'd get.
Yeah, too overvalued in Premier League pricing.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, well done on the penalty, etc. and so on. And he caused United plenty of problems for the actual penalty. Obviously, Yoro's made the mistake there. He knows he's made the mistake. There's lots of clips going around on social media of Mason Mount giving him a hug afterwards and all of that kind of stuff. And Amorim pulled him off, which was pretty harsh after he'd had some, by the way, extremely harsh words. Let's get into the Patrick Dorgu of it all in a bit, because I was a little unsettled by what he said there. But we'll see with Yoro whether he needs to come out or not. He's not had a great season so far, I'd say. It's fair to say he's been in and out of the team. He actually started the season all right, I thought, and then got dropped inexplicably and then never really recovered from it. But he's, 19 or 20? I forget now.
Just turned 20.
Just turned 20. He's got years and years ahead of him. Rio Ferdinand was stinking out West Ham United at this age. So, let's just...
Hell of a block, though, right before the penalty.
Was, yeah.
That was a hell of a block. Yeah. That was probably a goal saver, considering where Lamans was prior. I thought they were going to score.
I think he lost his footing as well before he made the foul. So everyone was falling over, yeah.
On when you watched it live, you were like, what the fuck was that? But then when you saw it back, you sort of understood he's done something clumsy. He's tried to pull out of it. Couldn't. So it's just something that happens. Fortunately, we won. I don't mind the idea of giving him a break. Just it depends on where he's at. Like whether that, like when he came off in the clip or the screen cap that I posted, other people posted, whether that was frustration, disappointing in himself or something else. I guess it depends on where he's at after that. I just think I would like to see Mazraoui come in. I think he's probably earned a start. It is a bit tricky, though, because the player's confidence is so delicate. And I think Yoro and Sesko were in similar scenarios where they were in and out of the team or in and out of the starting lineup. And I think that can be tricky when you're trying to build confidence.
Yeah, and when we don't have many games. So if you're out of the team 1 week, you don't have a game for 2 weeks, maybe 3, 4,
yeah,
and so on. And Josh Zirkzee will tell you it's very hard to perform when you're not fit or sharp or playing much football.
Yeah, well, no one's played because the starting lineup has remained much the same. Look at Luke Shaw; he's played every game. It raises a dilemma with Lisandro Martinez because I don't think you can fit both into the same team.
I don't think you can, because I actually think you do want your central centre-back to do most of the box defending.
Yeah.
So I think it's one or other. And by the way, Luke Shaw was very good yesterday, and I think generally speaking, his level is high.
As good as any.
Yeah. We didn't talk about Mason Mount's goal yet. Bruno gets the assist for that one. Be the easiest assist he ever gets. Fair enough. Maybe someone should come up with I've said this before, a weighting system for assists. How difficult was the assist?
Expected difficulty or something like that?
Yeah, because it's not expected assists that actually count, because that's more about the where the shot is taken from, and that tracks back to your expected assist. It's the kind of expected difficulty of it all, but yeah, rolling it 3 yards for Mason Mount to ping one in.
What was your perspective on the goal after it was scored? Did you think it was genius or a mistake by Palace? Or
I mean, I think Palace would be very upset that they didn't have their wall set right. So, I mean, the referee whistled and Henderson didn't.
I thought it was smart on that part, knowing that they weren't ready to go.
Yeah, it just went quickly, yeah. Yeah, and Mason Mount was almost caught off guard as well, right? It took him a step to get to it. Luckily, Palace were not set at all. Ref whistled, it's their problem.
Maybe the expected assist is the genius of knowing to roll the ball out quickly rather than the difficulty of the rollout.
Yeah. All right. So where does that leave us? I mean, we're up to 7th and really only 3 points off the Champions League places. Again, it's wide open this year. I mean, we're such a flawed side, but so is everyone else from 3rd to 10th.
Yep. The top 3 have just left us behind, to be honest. I don't know how you can watch like Arsenal Bayern Munich or Arsenal Chelsea and not see anything but a giant gap between them and the rest. It's they're going to streak to double digits ahead of everyone else in due course. I would think there's too much like unpredictability. So I think living in the trick for United, and it's probably a good thing we've got 4 days and then 4 days again, is that living in that game to game, especially with the manager situation and the balancing act of that, it's really frustrating going up and down, the highs and lows, especially on social media. Like you said, like it's the extremes. We live those extremes online. And so it's difficult because, they were in the bottom half. Now they're in the top half, just off the Champions League places. It's all perception things. So for me, I look at it now and go, if you can, well, I mean, I know we're going to talk about West Ham in a bit, but can you string 2 wins together and then all of a sudden, what does that look like? Are you in the top? Are you fourth? Like, not to mention Aston Villa are going to Brighton when we play West Ham. Sunderland are going to Liverpool. So those teams around us are playing each other. It's a real opportunity. And they missed that opportunity against Everton. Can they show that they can turn this into some more positive momentum? So it could have been 4 games without a win. Now we've got a win. We can turn that to 3 in a row with 2 good performances. We're living a 90-minute life cycle at the moment.
Yeah, and we have to hope at the same time that if Arsenal, City, Chelsea are the best sides in the country right now, that not 2 of Aston Villa, Newcastle, Liverpool, Spurs, Brighton, whoever, name your teams, don't get it together, right? Because England will probably have 5 Champions League clubs. That means 6th is Europa League for sure. Obviously, the FA Cup would get a Europa League spot. 7th is the Conference League. You absolutely do not want to be this. Almost certainly a loss. I was going to say loss leader, but it doesn't lead anywhere, right? It's just, you just make a loss on it. There's no benefit. You'd have to have a bigger squad. You don't make enough money. You won't sell out the Conference League games on the Thursday night. And there's no path to the Champions League. It's utterly pointless for a club like Manchester United. I think it's a really good tournament.
Yeah, for a club like United, it doesn't make sense in your revenue model. It does. It's just an obstacle, especially because you have to play on Thursdays. The turnaround, I think Palace are now, I think they're 1 win from 6 after the European games this season. So
not surprised they're not set up for it.
United struggled off the back of Europa League games. That wasn't just squad quality. The turnaround is really hard, especially when United already had physical limitations. And we talked about this a lot last season.
Good morning, Crust. It's a great day to be a bread brother.
Ugh, mornings are not my jam. Or jelly.
Oh, come on. Stop loafing around.
I just woke up feeling hollow inside.
Psst, just grab one of the new Morning Uncrustables sandwiches, like Bright-Eyed Berry or Up and Apple, filled with 12 grams of protein and tons of deliciousness. Crust, what are you eating?
It's just granola, not even yogurt.
No crust, no fuss. Uncrust your mornings.
All right, very good. Let's move on a little bit. I want to talk about Carl Macaulay and the recruitment stuff. Hadn't had a chance to talk about it on the pod so far. So he's an ex-City, Liverpool and Brighton analyst turned scout turned recruitment specialist. It's filling out Vivel's team here. He's obviously with us full time now, Vivel. I think everyone is pretty happy with his work so far. And then Macaulay will oversee the scouting operations, which is obviously very extensive. They did rationalize it a little bit, trying to think about the cost versus benefit. But United have been very poor over the years. Not only the top line recruitment of big name players that you didn't need a database of 800 players to go off and sign Aaron Wan-Bissaka, for example, or we've got 10 years of total failure basically in the transfer market. Macaulay will be interesting how they recruit underexploited assets and territories where United have been even worse, basically, just not picking up the gems ever. And I suspect a lot of what he's going to bring to the club is a kind of rational strategy about that. It's not about him picking the best left back for the Paraguayan third division or whatever. It's about having the operations in place so that we can find those and surface them in the right way alongside the revamped data strategy that we have, so we make better decisions both about big name players and those are not as well known. Good step in the right direction, I think.
Well, yeah, I think it speaks to the model that they want to create, which is those under 23s rolling over players. So even if they don't come into the first team, you're buying a player and probably 4, 5, 6xing their sale price, rolling that profit back into first team investment. So I can understand what they're doing. I think the proof will be in the pudding. So is the decision tree going to change as well? So those decisions are being made that weren't being made previously. Like they weren't even in the race to what City and Chelsea and other clubs were doing, particularly in South America. Christopher Vell's obviously got really strong ties in Africa. We've seen that already with Siko Kone and Mohamed Dabo, who I don't know if he actually ended up signing. We've also got Christian Roxo coming in. Forgive me for my pronunciation, but I actually thought when David Ornstein tweeted this, it probably spoke to the diligence and patience of how they've recruited for these roles. So they obviously considered Ben Chorley, who was at Valenciennes in the academy in France, the famous academy there. Again, forgive me on my pronunciation, but he's now at Southampton. So it also spoke to me about the influence of Christopher Vell at the club. Obviously, he's really having an impact there. And I think we're seeing that in the players we are getting linked to, even someone like Angelo Stiller, as opposed to a Premier League signing. So they are looking a little bit differently at how they are recruiting. It's not necessarily your marketing signings anymore. Also, the influence of data. So Macaulay incorporated data into how he recruited players. Obviously, it's how it led to your Caicedos, Cucurellas, Matomas, Trossards, and Danny Welbeck. So maybe Danny Welbeck ends up for a farewell tour at United as a backup striker, which we actually really could use at the moment. So I think it's quite exciting.
Take him in a heartbeat if he's available this winter, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting, but again, proof's going to be in the pudding. But I like the direction it's going in. So they're finally putting the pieces in place. Will those decisions? I'm quite optimistic on the structure they're putting together off field. I've always been quite optimistic because we simply haven't had it.
Yeah.
But we're not going to see that straight away. You and I spoke about the impact of data previously. I think we're going to see that ramp up significantly into next summer. And so I'm curious with the additional headroom they've created with the new squad cost rules, which you and Jamie spoke about on United Inc., I think with the additional headroom and more room to move next summer, we're going to be able to see not just the first team signings, we're going to see more investment throughout. And I think it's a reason for optimism and a little bit of excitement for the many transfer junkies out there like me.
Yeah, I'm not so much of a transfer junkie, but reason for optimism, they've taken their time. They're trying to get the recruits right. They're doing operations first. This is the correct approach. Put your strategy in place, decide where you want to go, get the right people in place to go execute on it. It's okay, I think, to strip a bunch of people out and then reorganize. When I'm thinking about strategy for an organization, typically you'd rather do that, even if that does mean firing people and then bringing other people in. And so I don't mind that kind of top-down view of we'll get the structure right first and then that's all pointed towards supporting the manager to be the best he can be. It should align with data, and I think they're taking, as far as I understand, they're taking a pretty holistic approach on it. I don't think United will be differentiated. In fact, I'm sure they're not, right? And in a way that Brighton are. Brighton own an analytics company. They create their own raw data, and they have their own proprietary models on top of that raw data, and they supplement it with data from other sources as well. United are not doing that. They're taking effectively public market data, right? You can go to StatsBomb or whoever and buy this data, and everyone else is doing that. And so United have played catch up to get to where everyone else is, but they won't be different or better than everyone else. I'm sure of that. I'm sure Sansoni's a genius. He's the head of data at the moment and all of that, but that's not how you build a structure around one person. We'll see what the next step is after this, because they'll know from Mercedes you do get unique and raw data there, and he will presumably know what the gap is. So if I was Sir Jim, I'd be whipping out my wallet and buying my own data analytics company in order to really be differentiated. If you want to take it a step further, that's for down the road. But I think the idea of you build out the football operations piece under Wilcox, the recruitment piece under Vivell, and the scouting piece under Macaulay, and they all roll up into Wilcox and Barada, of course. And the data piece is aligned to all of this. And data has to look at recruitment, performance and analytics, data science on the health side of things. And then there's a separate data piece, which often got confused in the reporting when I was seeing it reported out in the media as around organizational operations and marketing and stuff like that. Different kettle of fish altogether. But it feels like we're in a kind of good position operationally. Now, these people are going to go and execute on their jobs, and we hope that they've done the due diligence. They are best in class and all of that.
Never thought I'd had a phrase so much, to be honest. I've grown to hate it because people mock it so much. But I'm curious whether you'd know. So with Jim buying the company, because I haven't given this any thought, with Jim buying the company, potentially, would it even make sense for him to do that now? Is that a Manchester United purchase? Like, does that go into the valuation of the club?
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm being glib. The club should think about what their long-term data strategy is. They either build out a team. It's the raw data input that is the problem, though. So if you're effectively buying a subscription, for want of a better word, to a data fire hose, there's only so much differentiating you can do on that. You really need unique data sets in order to do something different. There's a very long conversation I could go into about how you would do that.
You're going to have to start doing a data pod soon enough. You have to do it.
Oh, God, I don't want to. I do enough already. It is an interesting space, though, and you can be different, as Brighton have shown, right? And their strategy is not just about getting the best players for Brighton. It's the most value add. And you've seen this in where they buy players, right? So your Lewis Dunks are very different from your Mitomas or whatever it is, right? And the where they think they can get most value. The next step for Brighton would be an interesting one, though.
But that's what you need at a club at that revenue level, I suppose you'd say, is you need a point of difference to be able to elevate. Otherwise, you're just in an entirely different race. Whereas United have finally got a car in the race, so which they haven't had previously. Now they've got to decide how they build on that, because they have a point of difference in being Manchester United and the appeal that brings for the targets they'll be competing for. So what's next? So good like you said, how far do they want to take it?
Yeah. Best of luck to him. Hopefully he does a great job at United. He's joined straight away, I think, as well. So he's got a few months ramp up to the summer window. I don't suppose he'll be doing anything particularly different for the winter window. All right, let's think about West Ham on Thursday. They're shit. Luckily.
A little revitalisation under Nuno. Paqueta's obviously going to miss, which is a massive out for them, because I think their weakness is probably their midfield, which is a really good thing for United without Paqueta. So is it too much to ask for a repeat of the Sunderland and Brighton results? I don't think West Ham will play as expansively as those clubs play. Well, I guess Sunderland don't play expansively, but United, I had a look at previous. I mean, every club has sort of had more joy coming to Old Trafford in recent years, but West Ham have only won once at Old Trafford since Sir Alex retired. They're 8-3. United are 8-3-1. They're 4-1-1 since 2020. So it's not like West Ham have had a great time coming up to Old Trafford. Again, I've got the Luke Shaw, Lisandro Martinez dilemma. Luke Shaw's played every game, but now we've got, 3 games in 9 days. Does he start all of those? Is Lisandro going to start one of them to start getting him some match fitness? How ready is he for an hour? I mean, he only played, 14 minutes, I think. So Mazraoui, I'm really concerned about Diouf on the left. I think he is such a good player. He is the ideal player for the left wing-back role that United need. So he's actually, if I could sign anyone right now, it would be him. But Cunha will be back. No Sesko, maybe for Wolves. No Maguire. Other teams playing who are around us on the table. There's a lot of opportunity, and is there room for optimism? I don't know. I don't know, Ed. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still a truism that United struggle against teams that play a low block and just give us the ball. I mean, we beat Palace.
We were good against shit teams last season.
Yeah, true. I don't think West Ham have got loads of tools to hurt us, though, it's just they should not create an awful lot against us. Can we break them down? It's a Nuno side, it's West Ham, it's at Old Trafford. It won't be any surprise if we end up with 60% possession and they just try and play on the break with, Jared Bowen and a few of their quicker players trying to take advantage of transitions.
Yeah, I don't like Bowen against Martinez in open space. That's probably my only concern with having him.
Not yet. I don't think Martinez is ready.
That's why I thought maybe it's Luke Shaw. I'm also curious because of Juve as well, how he'll calibrate the right wing back and left wing back. Does he move Ahmad back inside, play Diogo Dalot there, bring back Patrick Dorgu? So I'm a little bit curious there, but I think there's just some opportunity. They also want to have Somerville. So again, or they're likely not to have Somerville. So they're just going to lose a little bit of their attacking impetus. There's just an opportunity here to get another good win. I actually think as well, for once, the quick turnaround will be beneficial. Like maybe not for Casemiro, but for the team in general, there's some opportunity to continue some positive momentum.
Yeah, Casemiro can't play 2 games in 4 days, really. I suspect he'll start and come off after an hour or so. I mean, it's a good marker for what it might look like next season, because obviously there's a discussion about whether to offer him an extra year. I think they'll leave it right up to the end for various financial reasons, right at the end of the season, and make a decision. Then he would have to have a wage and a level of activity that is commensurate with his ability to play
Where do you
that
stand?
many games, which he can't. We know he can't. Yeah.
Where do you stand on it? Are you open to an extension?
If it doesn't block the pathway for another player who's more suitable, and he is a player that plays bits and pieces of games or fills in, plays once every 2 weeks, because I don't think it's a surprise that his level of performance has been upweighted this season when he's playing at most an hour a week, basically. Maybe, here and there a little bit more, a little bit less, but basically an hour a week. He can do that. He cannot play 90 minutes every 3 days.
That's my concern, though, is he already is struggling. Like the fact he got through 90 minutes was a huge surprise. Mm-hmm. So that's not going to be better next season. So I sort of think when you see how well he's played at times this season, or for the majority of the season, that speaks more to me about getting the right player. So pretty much the right player. We all are saying at this point is Elliot Anderson. It's about getting that player because you can see the uplift getting that player will bring. Again, like you said, though, if it's not blocking and he's willing to halve his wage, I honestly think it would have to be half to have a business justification to do it. And that matters now. We know that in the financial aspect. It's because it would halve the rest of his remaining amortization.
It was a 4-year contract, so it'll be at 0 by the end of the season anyway.
Would he? Yeah, I wasn't sure if it waited to the end of halves out, so it would be 5 million. That's right. That's what they do with Maguire. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you did it now, he's got £8 million or so on his book value. Let's just call it that for now. Yeah. You'd then take that 8 million and split it over the next 18 months, basically. So it'd have a minor incremental book benefit. If you do it at the end of the season, won't make any difference. His value will be 0. It'll be 0, and the only cost is the wages. And you just have to think: can you justify £15 million a year for a player who'll be playing once every couple of weeks? No, you can't. So, what is the value put on that player? If it was a young player, a Patrick Dorgu style wage of 50 to 80 or whatever he's earning, you go, okay, no problem. But it's an older player, and he's not going to have the same value. You'd want to measure his performance levels against the wage. That should be where you're smart, right? The top wage earners have to be the highest performers. And after the summer, I think we'll be getting much closer there because obviously we've got some high wage earners leaving the club, we assume.
Well, you'll clear 500,000 in wages, or at least reduce from, with Casemiro and Harry Maguire. You'll clear half a million.
It's $1 million if you talk about Rashford, Sancho, Maguire, and Casemiro all together. 50 million a year. I mean, it's an incredible bonus if you want to talk about it like that. Yeah,
it's like we saw what trimming wages has done for their cash position already.
Anyway, so West Ham, I mean, I think United, we have to understand, like, what are the risks? Weigh them against the benefit of playing the attacking team with enough attacking players in there, which we know from Amorim's press conference of the weekend. He understands the problem here. We know from watching Sporting, he understands the problem. It's just when he's decided, he's tended more often than not to go quite conservative. That hamstrings United. And so even if we're worried about West Ham's left side with Diouf or the right side with Bowen, how brave is he going to be? That's what I'd look to. Who are the players? I mean, Dalot, he seems to trust very well. I will be looking to see whether Ahmad is in. If Ahmad's in the front three, alongside Mbumo and Zirkzee, and we've got Mazraoui and Dorgu at wing-back, I'll be worried in this game that we won't create enough against a side that will be likely in a deep block, fairly obdurate, pick your Nuno side, right, of any that he's ever managed. If we're a bit braver, I'll be much more optimistic because I'm not sure West Ham have got enough weapons to hurt us.
If Cunha's playing or if Cunha's available, are you starting the same front three? Are you bring Cunha off the bench? What would be your approach there? Would you consider him as the 9?
See, the thing is, I don't think he's a good 9. He does all his best work in the half spaces.
I hate him playing as a 9. I would rather use Mason Mount as that like auxiliary sort of role so that you're not taking your best players out of their best positions.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Mason Mount's ability to be malleable around those players. I think it's his best strength in this current team and system.
That's right. I mean, you could shift Mbumo through the centre, Cunha
Fluid.
in his left half spaces role, and Mason Mount will be perfectly fine in the right half space, right number 10. He's played there an awful lot of times in his career. So I think that feels like a balanced attack to me with the right kind of profiles to pull off what we're trying to pull off. I'd rather that than see Cunha or Zirkzee at number 9 where it's a role that just doesn't suit them. And surprise, surprise, they don't put up the numbers there. Cunha never has in his career. He found the reason why he got £70 million move to United is not because he was a wonderful number 9. He was a crap number 9. And that's why after he went to Atletico, he ended up at Wolves. Right? And they reinvented him very successfully, and he's got a second chance. And him playing at 9, it's not good for him. It's not good for United. I would rather not see it.
No, I'm with you. I also have concerns still about the left side if Cunha isn't in the 11, because I found today, again, they were just really toothless on that left side. Like, Dalot works really hard, but the ceiling is not high on the attack if you've got that player there. I still like having Patrick Dorgu there because at least you've got a left footer to get the ball in. Can we please not spam crosses like we did in the first half? Until Benjamin Sesko gets back, and then you can start crossing the ball again. Just until then, just stop. Work angles and try to find cutbacks. That's what you should be doing.
Lots of interesting narratives, though. Does Leachy get some more game time? I assume it'll be off the bench. I think that makes sense. When he's fit, do we try Luke Shaw at left wing back now and again? We'll see. What's the makeup of that front three, and can Casemiro play another game? Does Emmanuel Ugarte come in or not? Or maybe Cobby. Who knows?
I think we've got the answer on that one now.
We've got the answer on that one, yeah, and we'll be another week closer to the opening of the January transfer window. A lot of speculation this week again about Napoli and their needs and Cobby's desire to... Is his last throw of the dice to get in? He's not going to get in the England squad for the World Cup. As it stands, he needs to be playing every week and performing. You can understand why he's desperate, but also why the club don't want to leave themselves incredibly short, which they would.
I don't think he's going to the Euros no matter what happens. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think there's too much competition. I think that midfield's sorted.
Yeah, I mean, England got a lot of options. Yeah. In Rice, Anderson and Bellingham, that is a truly world-class midfield.
It's as good as any. I just don't think there's... Yeah. You've also got Wharton in the squad already. A few months' performances won't get him back in the squad. I think Tuchel would already have his shortlisted squad in mind. I just don't think you're adding to that list now.
If he takes that cunt Henderson instead of Cobby...
Yeah, there's always a token selection in international squads. And it's like, Jordan Henderson gets to be the mascot. It doesn't make sense to me.
No. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Adam. And everyone, you can catch us at patreon.com/NQATpod if you want to get our extra show. It's also on Apple Podcast subscriptions. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm going to be changing the YouTube channel up a little bit. You'll see where that is. Hopefully a better complement to the audio podcast. We appreciate you listening or viewing wherever you are. And you can read my stuff on nqatpod.substack.com. I'm afraid I like to waffle for 2,500 words on some topic twice a week. There you go. Adam, you can catch at Adam Joseph. You've got your handle on Twitter, I notice. No longer Adam Joseph _____.
Yeah, you no longer have to remember that it's 4. They're all gone. All gone. Thank you, Elon, I guess.
All right. Bye now, everyone.
And thank you, sir.